When in doubt, call the fire department. Those are words we've come to live by because fire services personnel are trained to handle almost any emergency situation. Fire marshals are trained to prevent emergencies. They review building plans and inspect existing buildings for fire code compliance. Here, Mike Satterfield and Larry Williams talk about how fire prevention has evolved over the years.
Protective clothing and turnout gear. I went through the time when I started fighting fire, the mark of a good firefighter was how much smoke you could eat. The mark of a good firefighter today is not eating any smoke. So I saw breathing apparatus, and in fact, it's very fortunate some of the things in history that a lot of folks don't know. But the Hall County Fire Department was very involved in the development of breathing apparatus. The real step, the breathing apparatus that was used at the time that I first was introduced to it was basically made for use in mines. And we were using that and using it very well. But then NASA, as part of their research project, got involved in breathing apparatus and basically designed the breathing apparatus today. And we were very involved in that. We did some of the prototype testing on that in Hall County and such. So Hall County really paved the way for use of breathing apparatus. Some of the improvements in protective clothing, Hall County was very involved in that. We went through some steps, and people look back in some pictures, Hall County will see that at one time all Hall County firefighters wore aluminized protective clothing. In fact, they said, what do you want to do when you bake a potato? You wrap it in tinfoil. So, and we wrapped our firefighters in tinfoil.
The biggest and probably the most dramatic change has been in the fire codes and regulations that pertain to buildings and the safety, the life safety of people who are in those buildings. As time has passed through the 60s and the 70s, and when these big tragedies occurred, then we started seeing more and more fire codes come in place. And then once those were in place, it took a little while for departments to catch up where they could start enforcing those codes. They had to be educated. And so now we see probably the biggest effect is that we're preventing fires on the front side with these codes. And the fires that are still there are actually contained and compartmentized where they're not as large as they normally would be. But we're always going to have, even with the codes and even with the modern firefighting equipment, we're still going to have a lot of calls that relate to accidents. And as long as we have human intervention in these cases, we're always going to have fires because people are just careless many times.
Chief, you've seen a lot over your career. What's the most important thing that stands out while you were chief? Is there a way you can specify one thing or a group of things? Or
David, I think that we have to. I don't think there's any one thing over a long career. It's a combination of a lot of things that have occurred, and as I spoke earlier about personal protective equipment improvements and equipment improvements, professionalism of our people overall, the actual firefighters and the training that they receive, all of those things have improved greatly over the years and have changed how we provide service and the level of service, and just added many, many more types of service we can provide. But the fire service in general, in my career, has had 2 or 3 different phases, and I look at those and think back in my early career and as a young fire chief, I saw where we were asked to do more and more, and we were requested by the citizens to do more and more, and we were having to do that with the same amount of money. No new monies. Hopefully you could keep the same money that you had and resources that you had, but try and do more. So as a result of that, a lot of innovation took place. A lot of thought processes about how we could do things in a different way with the same amount of money. So I think it made us very efficient. And we took that forward, and then a great growth spurt hit the Southeast in general, and Hall County was certainly a big part of that. And that growth started coming in, and we saw more people, and we saw individuals coming in from different parts of the country who, in some cases, expected a higher level of service, more government involvement in their lives. And as a result of some of that, we were asked to do more. But when we were asked to do more and provide more services and expand, we were given more resources to do that with. You know, we saw that as that growth spurt occurred, and then we saw another elevation of that during the 9/11 World Trade Center bombings, where I think a new appreciation for emergency services came out of that. We were looked at in maybe a little different light. And so we've had that phase. And that brings us more up to today in our careers. And, you know, and of course, I'm still involved in emergency services. And now we see every day, and it's getting more and more so each budget year we're going through, is that we're asked to do the same we're doing level-wise, maybe adding more, and then of course we're having more requests for services from citizens. We're having more arson fires, we're having more medical calls related to depression and mental anxiety and things of that nature. But we're doing all of that with less money. Every budget cycle we go into now, we're asked to cut our budgets more and more. So one thing that's helped, I think in my case at least, is that I do remember some of those days where we just basically didn't have money to do anything, and so we're having to be innovative again in a lot of ways. You know, the sad part about it is that can only carry you so far, and then ultimately you run out of resources and funds, and you just do the best you can. Now, I'm not trying to sing the blues here. Everyone's in, you know, personally, people are in those same situations, and all of government's in that same situation. We all have to work together to get through this. So I think those are the biggest changes, but no single item. I mean, although there were many very large incidents that I remember, and they're etched in my memory, and they'll be there forever. But that's the nature. You know, Hall County is unique, I think, in many ways. It has a diversity in the types of calls that you receive that you'll find that surpass most places. You know, when you look at the industry that's here, you look at Lake Lanier that's here, you know, the racetracks that we have, the transient population that comes here to visit and leave, and then the interstate we have with people coming through the county. So it really is unique and brings an opportunity for, I think, the emergency service workers here, the firefighters, to gain a great experience that they get to see a lot of different things.
I agree, and I think you've witnessed during your career as chief, two of the big things that stick out in my mind was probably the largest fire the county had was the Wilhite warehouse in '91, and then the largest natural disaster that I can think of here was the tornadoes in '98. Both happened under your leadership.
Those were, you know, I don't want to be known for that, but they have occurred and they'll occur again. And you know, we're having some very unusual weather this year, so you know, we all want to hope that does, and nothing like that occurs again.
And I think it's not bad to be remembered for that, because it was remembered as handled well and nothing wrong. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being remembered for the leadership in that during those times.
Well, I think that job was made easier because of the people that work here and still work here. This department's made up of great individuals with great knowledge and skills, compassion. You know, we can go on, but they possess those things, and it's great that they do. And I think it's a wonderful asset that the citizens who live here in Hall County have, that they can call on whenever they need it.